Thank you guys for what you do for HBCU athletics. This is a fantastic avenue for all of us. This is our ESPN, so we love what you guys do. Bryan, A.D, Roy, all you guys at BCSN. We really appreciate what it is that you guys do for us.
The scores, the stats, the highlights. This is the nation's #1 show covering HBCU football. Black College Football Weekly Review. Now your host in his 30th season, Ty Miller.
Hey, what is up? And welcome to Black College Football Weekly Review. Well, it's called Week 0 in college football, and the first weekend of games kicked off August 28th with only a few teams in action. That included 4 black college teams. The marquee game was in Atlanta as Alcorn State and North Carolina Central hooked up in the SWAC MEAC Challenge. The Braves came in ranked as high as number 2 in most preseason polls, and they were favored to beat the Eagles. But that is why they play the games. North Carolina Central, in a shocker, came out on top 23-14. Defensive back Manny Smith had 10 tackles for Central and was named Defensive MVP. Defensive back and punt return man Brandon Codrington also had a good game. He ran back a punt 77 yards for the game-clinching score. Now, both teams will take a week off before returning to the field September 11th. North Carolina Central, they will be at Marshall. Alcorn State will visit Northwestern State. In other action, despite 5 turnovers, Edward Waters beat Florida Memorial 24-20, and it was Kentucky State over Central State 20-6. This is Black College Football Weekly Review from the Power News and Sports Radio Network.
Let's get back to strolling instead of scrolling. Before we can safely come together, we need the facts on COVID-19 vaccines. Visit GetVaccineAnswers.org so you can make an informed decision for yourself and for your family.
You're looking for the latest information on Southern University sports, the Southwestern Athletic Conference, and HBCU athletics. There's only one place to go. Tune in to the Carlos Brown Show, exclusively on the Black College Sports Network.
Now back to Black College Football Weekly Review from the Power News and Sports Radio Network.
Ty Miller back on Black College Football Weekly Review, where we are recapping action from this past weekend. The SWAC MEAC Challenge was a game between 2 teams who had not played in over 600 days due to COVID-19. North Carolina Central and Alcorn State were expected to be rusty, but the game was anything but that. The offenses were productive, and the defenses, well, they were better than expected. So it came down to big plays and execution, and that edge went to the Eagles. With his team up by 2 late in the fourth quarter, defensive back and return man Brandon Codrington took a punt return and dashed his way 77 yards to put the Eagles on top for good.
Coach told me if I follow my blocks, step the back wall, that it would be open. Follow my blocks. I looked to my right, and it was open.
North Carolina Central punt returner Brandon Codrington. His head coach, Trey Oliver, said before the game, he heard about the message boards, social media, and predictions that Alcorn State would have its way against a team that won only 3 games in 2019. Well, here is his response to how well his team played.
We had to control what we can control, and that's our emotions. Our eyes were big, that we talked about, being disciplined, run fits. Everything was about us. It wasn't about them. They were really locked in. We need to go back and forth on social media, watch all the United States of America pick Alcorn to win.
North Carolina Central head coach Trey Oliver.
It's the show where we take you inside the game before the game begins. It's the pregame. With your host, Charles Bishop and Neely. So get ready, because we pregame harder than the other show's party. It's the pregame.
But my beats, they are hard.
Welcome back to the BCSN SportsWrap. We have sitting in for my regular partner, Bryan Fulford. Sitting in today is the guru of HBCU baseball, Mr. Michael Coker. Michael, how you doing today?
I'm doing good, Mr. A.D. Drew. How about yourself?
Fine. And that means if I've got Michael sitting in for an interview, that means it must be baseball related. So we normally we would be talking baseball with this guy, but now he's got a second job. You know, everybody needs a job and a hustle. So he's got the greatest hustle of them all. He is now the new athletic director at Stillman College, the Stillman College Tigers, Mr. Terrance Whittle. How you doing, Coach?
I'm doing well, sir. Thanks for having me this morning.
Well, I'll start this off. You know, I received word last week that Stillman was going to finally make a move with his athletic director, but obviously I didn't know who it was going to be. They decided to stay internal. They promoted you to athletic director. So, first of all, what does it mean for you to be promoted to athletic director at a school where you've spent a lot of time at?
Well, for me, I'm humbled. I'm excited. I can't thank the president, the former athletic director, Mr. Ken Alston, Dr. Tyshawn Gardner, who's our VP for Student Affairs. I can't thank them enough for entrusting me with the stewardship of the Department of Athletics. And so I have been excited about this new opportunity and challenge and looking forward to it, to really continue to work with our team, and administrators and auxiliary personnel to continue to move the pendulum forward for Stillman College athletics.
Go ahead, Michael.
Well, tell me, Coach, you were hired in 2017 to lead the baseball program, and you came in from Elizabeth City, and you are a former Virginia State University baseball player. Your collegiate career got started there. How are you going to be able to juggle this new position as the AD, the athletic director, and still be a top Division II, NCAA Division II baseball coach? How are you going to transition both jobs?
Well, you know, the athletic director position is going to be a permanent situation for me here. We've had talk with our president and our VPs about additional role as continuing to manage our baseball program. I will still have my footprint in baseball, particularly just not every day. So we have a staff, we have a pitching coach, and we're going to bring on another full-time coach to manage the day-to-day aspect of the baseball program, so that there's a non-seamless transition with our day-to-day operation of the baseball program. So I'll still have my footprint in managing and overseeing some aspects of it, but the day-to-day responsibilities will be handled, you know, by our new guy we bring in as an assistant role over the next couple of days and weeks.
With that being said, since this new transition that you're going to, how will it affect the baseball program? And I say that because at HBCUs, most athletic departments, baseball lacks. It doesn't get the funding, the budget, and the respect that baseball programs need at the HBCU level. Hopefully, this should bring about a change. Will this open up the baseball program for you, especially when it comes not just recruiting, but budgetary?
So I think, you know, opening the baseball windows for resources will continue as it was prior to me being named the director of athletics. We will make some strides in terms of improving our scholarship dollars. And we were able to do that in conjunction with our previous athletic director. Over the course of the past 2 years, we've increased our scholarship dollars and output. We've increased our baseball enrollment in terms of building the numbers of student athletes. And we're also increasing the infrastructure. So over the past 2 or 3 years, we've been working on building the infrastructure for betterment of our student athletes in terms of training facility. We're continuing to work on those things, increasing opportunities for our baseball players and potential student athletes. I don't think recruiting will suffer as some might think it will. We're still now getting requests for potential student athletes. I'll still be out doing recruiting along with our part-time assistant and our new full-time guy. So I don't think recruiting is going to suffer. Like, if anything, recruiting is going to expand because it gives us a broader and a more generalized areas to cover. We put more eyes on the ground, more boots on the ground for recruiting, which is the lifeblood of any athletics program. And so for us, we feel like that's going to kind of enhance our blueprint here in Alabama and in other Southeastern states. And so we're going to continue to work on fundraising opportunities. Another additional eyes and hands are going to allow us to do that. And so I think from a program perspective, we're going to continue to stay in alignment with the overall mission of the institution and the athletic department, as with other sports across the campus. We're going to try to stay committed and stay amenable and stay equitable with other sports across the campus.
Now, Coach, every athletic director, every administrator comes in with a plan, be it a 3-year plan, be it a 5-year plan. You had to sell the administration on some type of plan in order for them to seriously consider you for this position and ultimately give it to you. So with what you can share with us here, what is that plan, 3-year plan, 5-year plan? What are some of the details of that plan going forward to help us Stillman out?
Well, to be transparent, we haven't really put a timeline on what a 3-year or a 5-year or even a 10-year plan would look like. However, we can confidently say that our goals, both long and short-term goals, are to increase the visibility of Stillman College athletics. And one of those things that we're doing, and that ball has begun to roll and was pushed prior to me coming on board as Director of Athletics, is the increase in sports with our department. And so I'm going to continue that mantle in terms of bringing additional sports in our portfolio of sports sponsorships. We look to offer volleyball over the next year or so, fall of next year actually, and then subsequently the year that we'll look to add men and women's bowling to our list of sports sponsorships. So when we talk about growing our athletic department, that is one of the things that we want to continue to do. Hopefully after 2023, with the blessings of our president and staying in alignment with what she wants for the institution, we'll continue to grow the athletic department. So from a sports sponsorship perspective, those are some of our immediate and long-term goals to grow the department sport-wise. Look at blueprint in terms of building our facilities, not just with our baseball program, but with our soccer program, infrastructure-wise, improvements to or added additions to our gymnasium, and then also raising the blueprint for fundraising and resources. So I think those are some things immediate and long-term we want to look to do.
Support the Black College Sports Network so we can continue to provide you coverage. Go to myjbn.com/support and be a part of the Black College Sports
Tell everybody they can follow their dreams.
I love football.
The first full week of games will be played next weekend, and there are a number of marquee games on the schedule. Saturday's action includes Alabama A&M versus South Carolina State, Hampton taking on Virginia Union, Miles College at Alabama State, Bowie State taking on Delaware State, and Elizabeth City State versus Fayetteville State. Now, there are also games on Sunday. Tuskegee takes on Fort Valley State, Florida A&M versus Jackson State, and Grambling versus Tennessee State at the Hall of Fame Classic in Canton, Ohio. That game will feature Eddie George making his debut as Tennessee State's head coach.
It's truly an all boots rise mentality when it comes to this. When you look at any football program, the eyeballs of an institution are through the football program. So we have an opportunity to really do some great things here.
New Tennessee State Tigers head coach Eddie George. For Black College Football Weekly Review, I'm Ty Miller. He gone.
You've been listening to Black College Football Weekly Review from the Power News and Sports Radio Network.
Alabama State to face Howard. It'll be interesting to see how the fan mix works. You know, how Howard's fan base responds, because has Howard been in a SWAC MEAC challenge? So I thought it was initially kind of good to introduce the northeast part of the MEAC to the SWAC. Yeah, Howard claims to have a homecoming. They claim to have kind of a tailgate. I want to see what that looks like. Can they travel to Atlanta? I just want to say, I haven't seen much of a Howard. I've been to a Howard homecoming. I've been to Howard tailgate. I'm sorry, Howard fans. Let me repeat. It's nothing to brag on. All right. It is a one-day Aspire or BET video. That is it. So good, but good for you. But I think that event, you need to bring a little bit more to the fire. So,
man, all them Howard fans out there, they got beat up when they dealing with the HU. Mike was like, not so fast with the homecoming.
Hey, all that SWAC arrogance just came out in that one statement.
Tune in every Tuesday and Thursday at 6 p.m. Central, 7 p.m. Eastern for Dr. Cavill's Inside the HBCU Sports Lab. Course, lecture, dismissed.
All right, Coach. You mentioned possible additional sports being offered there at Stillman College. You know the one everybody HBCU love to see added, football. Stillman dropped football about 4 or 5 years ago. We've seen Florida Memorial add football in the last 2 years ago. We've seen Bluefield State add football this year. That was after 62 years and 41 years respectively. If Stillman were to go and add football, it would be after less than a 10-year hiatus. I gotta ask you, is it something being considered? Is it on the table? Is it a wait and see approach? We want to know because we love the tailgate.
I can say with certainty that it is not on the table at this particular time. So there is no foreseeable future for football at Stillman College.
All right. I mean, that's fair because when you say add, that's the first thing people always think about. So got to ask the question. Now, let me ask you one other thing about Stillman within the footprint of the state of Alabama. You've got University of Alabama right up the road from you, same town. You've got Alabama A&M, Alabama State, Tuskegee, University of, you got Auburn. You've got all these powerhouse schools, and Stillman is competing for that same athlete within the state of Alabama with all these schools. What can Stillman do to set itself apart and to go get some of these athletes out. And let's be real, the 5 stars are going to Alabama, Auburn. We know that. But for the rest of those athletes out there, what can Stillman do to put itself in the conversation in the households when these kids are making these decisions?
Well, I think, that's always the question, as long as I've been involved in athletics, what separates your institution from others who are unlike you and recruiting for the same kind of student athlete, and those who are similar to you and you're recruiting for the same kind of student athlete. And so I think Stillman is reaching to an audience of athletes and students that, number one, are concerned about getting an education. The blueprint for Stillman's student body is primarily first generation college students. And so you find, that paradigm not only now, but as it has been. Stillman has broadened its range of degree options in the biomedical fields, in the homeland security fields. And so I think to be able to attract different kinds of students would separate Stillman from those of the like institutions. The one thing that institutions get in trouble with is trying to compete. And so when you get into a competition, and everything is a competition by no stretch of the imagination, but when you continue to focus on competition, I think you lose a little bit. And I don't think Stillman has done that. In the midst of competing for students, Stillman is trying to present its brand that would attract the kind of students that can be successful here at Stillman. And so I think that's one of the things that's really well athletically, and how these students can leave Stillman College and become employable. And so I think that's one of the reasons and one of the things that kind of separates Stillman in terms of being able to change that dynamic of students becoming marketable and employable after they leave the institution.
Michael.
Well, let me push that a little further. Stillman, there was a period of time when the baseball program was the tops in HBCU baseball. And every year it was a 10-year period where you guys just knocked off a lot of ranked teams. You went to the conference tournament. You represented the SIAC conference this is when you was in the SIAC conference in all HBCU baseball, all HBCU collegiate conference. And you basically spanked everybody. And you went to the NCAA regionals. It was a 10-year period. And you were getting those top recruits. Do you see this coming about now that you're not going to bring football back and you have that extra, I guess, so to say, budget to put into the baseball program? And I'm sticking with baseball because you're a true baseball coach. 16 years at Elizabeth City, a college, and then you were 5 years as a head coach, and you took that program and you won the CIAA and you became coach of the year. Now, with all of this information being said, when Stillman had that top baseball program for a 10-year period and they were getting top players in, is that going to be the goal moving forward?
Well, it's always the goal, Mr. Coker. One of the things that has changed throughout the landscape is Stillman moving from Division II to an independent institution for about 2 years, and then joining Southern Athletic Conference. And so the conference that we're a part of at present, the dynamics are relatively different in terms of student body, scholarship allotments, and those kinds of things. And so Stillman moved into a conference from a baseball perspective where the equivalencies weren't equitable across the board. And so that's something that changed from the Division II, where equivalencies were manageable and equitable across the board. And so now one of our tasks is to bring the equivalencies to a manageable and equitable level within the Southern States Athletic Conference. You mentioned also about having football and then allocating those non-existent resources that were from football. Well, that's exactly what is non-existent. So there was really to pull from when football disbanded, not just for increasing baseball or increasing softball or any other of the other sports. So there was just nothing to pull from because there was nothing once football left. And so now that has been the charge for us since we have come on board with Stillman College a few years ago, is to increase those equity that pertains to scholarship dollars. And we've made some strides in doing that. We've moved in our conference in terms of being competitive. Last year we didn't finish very well the first year in our league, and we made a jump this past season league as far as standings are concerned. And so we do see that there is growth in our baseball program moving forward. We welcome this. We look forward to this, and even expanding the blueprint of what the Southern States look like now, adding Talladega College to the mix as well. So we feel like we're moving in a trajectory as far as baseball is concerned. And programs I've always been associated with when I started at Virginia State, an uphill trajectory climb. When I took over the program at Elizabeth City State, it was an uphill trajectory climb. And so we find the same kind of dynamic here at Stillman College from a baseball perspective. It's an uphill trajectory climb. And so I'm no stranger to those kinds of challenges. I look forward to it because it says a lot about where you are and where you're in and what's good for our student athletes.
Well, you touched on the Southern States Athletic Conference. When you enter to that conference, so that people understand that that conference is one of the top NAIA baseball conferences in the nation. 5 teams normally make the national tournament. And now that when Stillman joined and now Talladega, I see a positive change coming about just from your program alone, because I know Stillman usually adapts itself. And I see you building that program the same way you did at Elizabeth State. And I also see to it because you're a former Major League Baseball scout. So you know talent really well, and you will be recruiting that talent. So how does the baseball program advance itself heading into this will be your 3rd year into one of the toughest conferences in the NAIA?
Yeah, so it would be our 4th year in the Southern States. You talk about being able to recruit talent. And one of those areas to increase the talent base, and we've put a target on that, really has to do with pitching. When I came on board a few years ago as the skipper of the baseball program, that's one of the things that I noticed moving into the Southern States is an abundance of pitching. And I think that really carries the road in this league, not just from what your starters look like, what your weekend starters look like, but also what your midweek guys look like and what your bullpen looks like. And so it's been our task to try to address those 3 areas of our pitching staff. We feel as though moving into the 22 season, we've been able to do that in terms of numbers, in terms of addressing what our weekend starters will look like, having those midweek guys who can also be weekend starters, but then also having a solid bullpen rotation, because I think that is key in the Southern states. You talked about the depth of teams moving into to the regional every year. Well, we've experienced if not some of all of that in the Southern states, being able to compete in this conference. We felt as well at one point in time when Stillman moved to the Southern states that the conference was top heavy and Stillman was back behind the 8-ball come to scholarship dollars. And I think we've been able to kind of close the gap in increments, just not quite there yet. We're still pushing that needle forward in terms of talent and keeping the talent here. It's one thing to get it here, but to keep it here over the course of 4 years, whether it's the junior college route, which I love the JUCO route. I think you've got to have an abundance of JUCO players on your roster that can bring in experience and college know-how, but then also good freshmen coming out of high school, coming from good programs that have good IQs, that can stay in your program and provide consistency and longevity in your program, but that can also help your graduation rates in the end. So I feel as though we're making some strides, and we're going to be one of those teams in the next few years or so competing for conference and regional appearances and championships.
All right, Coach, we get ready to get you out of here with these last series of questions. You talk about some of the talent on campus, some of the talent you've brought on campus. Correct me if I'm wrong. You've got somebody on your team with the same last name as you. Correct me if I'm wrong with that, right? Got a son there that plays
That's
for
correct.
you, right? So, all right, I need you to be dad for a minute.
Yeah.
How does he feel about, number one, obviously he came to play for his dad, but now not only is his dad head coach, but his dad is the man in the athletic department, being an athletic director. So how does he feel? How do you manage that dynamic as a father / coach / administrator now?
I have to be really honest. I never thought that, I would have the opportunity to coach my son. I've been his coach his entire life. He grew up around Virginia. Well, he was a baby. He was a baby after I left Virginia. He was born in 99 and left Virginia State. So he was a baby in my early years, but he grew up at Elizabeth City State. So he's been around baseball all his life. Every team I've coached has taught him the game. And so I just never thought I'd have an opportunity to coach my son. And of course, he had opportunities to go elsewhere. He went to Atlanta with his mom, high school. Opportunity to go to Tuskegee, recruited him twice and offered him, and had a chance to go to Payne College and Kaiser down in Florida, but he decided that he wanted to come to Stillman College on his own volition. And for me, it was one of those things for me that I really thought was a blessing for me as a dad. Just because if you as a parents of children, and you don't get this time to spend with them once they hit 18 years old. They go off to college, they're doing other things, they're starting their own lives. He has given me one of the greatest gifts that anybody could give to a parent, is to spend more time with your child. So from that aspect, I'm hugely ecstatic and grateful for that. It was a struggle for one, because he moved from him and I being father and son to now being coach and player. And, I've of my baseball programs, not just with a glove, but with a fist at times. And so one of the things to get over is players, you know, had an issue with coach, you see. And so I think he had to really understand that dynamic. He always saw when he first got here, not coach. And I think there was one particular incident where some players were chirping about, well, coach is doing this and coach is doing that. And he took offense to it, you know. And so he just had a conversation. He had a conversation with me about it. So, you know, when we were in high school, when you played summer baseball, when you went to EI in Florida, breakthrough series and all those kind of things, did you always agree with your coaches of what they said and what you guys were doing? And he didn't, you know, and that was the thing here. And I think once he was able to get past the "that's my dad" thing, he blended in really well. I think players bought into the fact that he wasn't treated any different than anybody else, you know. And when they saw me discipline him, they knew they were in trouble. They didn't have a shot, you know. So it's really been a good experience, I think, for me and for him. He's enjoying it. He's one of our team leaders, actually. The players voted him this year to be a part of our team council. Well, those guys that are part of the council added him to the player council. Let me say that. And so, but for us, it's really been a good ride so far. He's done well academically. He's been a really good teammate and a really good player.
Coach, you have a son on the team, and you look 25 yourself.
Well, you know, I'm 50, actually. I'm 50. And I don't feel 50. You know, I'm grateful that folks don't think I'm as old as I am. But I'm enjoying it. You know, baseball has given me a lot of opportunities. It's taken me around the world a couple of times to visit foreign countries and coach baseball. And it all started at Virginia State. So I'm really grateful for Virginia State for the opportunity they showed in me when I was 22 years old and named head coach there. I actually got a text last night from my former AD at Virginia State, Alfredo Goff, who texted me last night about this position here as AD here. So her and Mike Davis, who's now personnel scout with the Kansas City Chiefs, he was my college baseball coach. And those two persons are most responsible for me being where I am.
All right. Well, Coach, we appreciate you joining us here today. Any final words to the alumni, students, or supporters of Stillman College? And now you got to make sure you put your AD's hat on. You got to tell everybody where to send the check.
We're working on that. I've always been reaching out to alums. You know, there's been a Memphis group, the baseball alums in Memphis have been really supportive. But now we're going to try to expand that brand to the alums across Stillman College. Looking forward to kind of working with all the alums. Had a chance to talk to the president of the National Alumni Association about 2 weeks ago, and put some things in place to really kind of bring the alums into the fold and us into their midst as well. So we're looking forward to really building Stillman athletics, expanding the blueprint, and just really being good stewards and continue the legacy of scholarship, service, and accountability for Stillman College athletics and the legacy of Stillman College as a whole.
And what when we want to donate, what we need to send the funds to, Coach?
Well, Stillman College Institutional Advancement, i.e. athletics.
All right. Stillman College Institutional Advancement.
Yep.
All right. We need to get some kids in school. We need to keep some kids in school. And just as important to that, we need to get some shots in the arm. Yeah.
That's it.
And support the baseball program.
Oh yeah.
That's right.
Definitely. Well, he can't be biased now, Mike. He's got to get money for everybody. Although we know where he wishes the check would go, he's got to get it for everybody. All right. Thank you once again, Coach Whittle, for joining us, and for Michael Coker of Black College Nines, Terrance Whittle, new athletic director and head baseball coach, Stillman College. This is A.D. Drew, and we'll talk to you later on this week.
But stay hard.